again, very underrated as a performer in the ring, and a really dedicated guy. Yeah, I mean, like, I can't say enough good things about Dave. He's a friend of mine, and I wish him all the success. And
let me go to present day here, because last night, obviously, with NXT TakeOver, and I'm still in awe about a lot of the stuff that went on. Did you ever think you see the day where we'd be setting up a Kevin Owens Samoa Joe match?
No, well, not in a
WWE.
NXT WWE ring, no. But it was a great moment, and here's the thing about NXT, and it's a different vision from what's going on in the main roster. Obviously, the end game is to prepare people for the main roster and to get them up to Raw and SmackDown or wherever their destination happens to be. And like Triple H himself said, not everybody's going to make it. But, it's kind of cool that NXT has kind of become its own brand, its own entity, and that they're doing something different. They've adopted a different style than the main roster. They've kind of gone, like back to basics. Simple is best. Their weekly show is a 1-hour show, so it's a nice tight package with the focus on in-ring performance as opposed to a lot of backstage segments or in-ring segments. And then when they do their specials, 99 times out of 100, they hit a home run.
Yeah, it was
last night again was another great example of that. Nice surprise at the end with Samoa Joe coming out. Kudos to everybody involved for keeping it a secret, especially in this day and age where everything leaks out on the internet.
Agreed.
It was nice. It was nice to see. It happens every once in a while where they're able to keep stuff secret, and I'm glad they were able to keep this one secret. I like the brand. I like the product. I like the presentation, and it's simple, and they're catering basically to a different audience. They're not catering to casual fans. In a sense, maybe a little bit they are with some of the characters, but as far as the presentation and the in-ring product, I think that caters more to hardcore fans than anything. And becoming, now that it's touring and becoming its own like touring brand, it's just another example on how I think the business overall was flourishing as opposed to just WWE NXT business flash.
Yeah. I have a question here because you've been doing this a long time. The women's wrestling movement now in NXT is pretty much different than anything we've seen in WWE. Do you think it's possible for the NXT women, what's going on there, to even make it work on the main roster the way things are right now?
Yes, it can work, but I think at the same time, and I know people will say, well, you know what, just let them do their thing. Yes, let them do their thing, but there still has to be a little bit of that, that entertainment thrown in. They're having great matches, don't get me wrong, fantastic matches, and a lot of people will say that last night's Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks match may have been the match of the show. I mean, some people have said that it was the match of the night. And, I won't argue that. And there's a very valid point to be made for that. But, again, when you're talking about the main roster, you are not catering to a wrestling-only audience. You're catering to casual fans as well because that's the WWE model. You're trying to attract as many fans as possible to your product. And you may have your, let's say, for example, 4 million people tune into Raw on Monday night. Maybe 1.5 million are your hardcore, we tune in every week crowd.
Yeah.
The rest of the guys are the casual fans that you're trying to get to come in every week. And they may see the women's match differently than the smart fans would see it. And maybe they're not as entertained by a pure wrestling match between the girls than the hardcore fans are. So maybe a little bit of a little tweak to it. I mean, you could still do it, but just add a little tweak to it so that you can I don't know the exact formula, but try to appease both sides, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, because I look at the women down there, and I see someone like Charlotte, who can actually really get over on the main roster because of the Flair connection and use that connection to her advantage. And then you have someone like a Bailey, who I think would work so well because they want to attract children, and she's the perfect role model for little girls that you don't have on the main roster right now. Those are two people I always use as examples that could work on the main roster.
Right, exactly, and obviously a lot of credit down there goes to, I guess, Sarah Del Rey's, training, doing a lot of the training down there, and I guess she's the one who's responsible for all the technical aspects. Now, again, character-driven characters are needed as well. You need to have a mix of both because, like you say, the most over guys ever in the business were not always the best in-ring performers.
Yep.
But they were good storytellers, great talkers, and great personalities.
That's true. That's a very good point. All right, let's jump out of WWE. I do have a couple of things. Ring of Honor right now, they just had all their shows with New Japan. What are your thoughts on the Ring of Honor product right now? I know they're getting hit with all the NXT. They're taking a bunch of their guys and all this kind of stuff. But I know they had their big shows with New Japan. What do you think of Ring of Honor right now?
You know what? Like I said, I'm a wrestling fan, so I enjoy all forms of wrestling. I do watch Ring of Honor. I do watch TNA. I don't get a chance to watch the Lucha Underground very much, because we don't get El Rey obviously up here in Canada, so I have to kind of like fish around on the internet to find it. But you know what? I do enjoy the Ring of Honor product. It's a different presentation from the WWE, and the guys there, I know some of the guys down there, really, really good guys, really hard-working guys. It's just a different presentation that, again, caters to a different audience. The ROH/New Japan guys, again, cater to a more hardcore wrestling fan as opposed to, a broader, more casual audience. Does it mean I like them any less? No, it's a different presentation. Would I like to see little modifications in their style? Maybe. I mean, but then again, it is a different presentation that's catering to a different niche audience. So it's like with WWE, jumping back to them. Do I like everything that they do? Not always. But again, they're a different presentation. Their matches are more storytelling driven, whereas the New Japan/ROH style is more hard hitting, very impactful, a lot of high risk maneuvers and that sort of stuff. Different style altogether. Would I like to see them tone it down? Maybe a little bit, and maybe just. I hate to borrow this phrase from JR, but I think he's right. They need to just slow down just a touch, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
I think they can get. I don't know. I would like it better if they just slowed down just a touch. But anyways, I digress. But as far as liking the product, of course I do, because I'm a wrestling fan and I don't, and I have an open vision, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying that wrestling has to be a certain way, one way. There's different presentations that work, and they're one of them that I enjoy. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with Ring of Honor. I actually don't miss shows when they come here. I haven't missed one yet. You mentioned TNA, and the news broke late last night about them possibly, more than likely, losing their U.S. television home again. Just America canceling the show again and everything going down the way it is. Do you think this might actually be the death nail in TNA?
I honestly hope not, because again, the problems that exist in TNA, in my opinion, are not related to the talent, because they do have so many talented individuals there in TNA. In-ring performers, or whatever you want to call them, wrestlers. There's a lot of talent down there that could be better utilized. But again, I don't want to rail on Dixie Carter, because I've never met the woman, and from some people I've heard she's really nice. But I'm thinking that a lot of her business decisions with, I guess, putting certain people in certain positions maybe detrimental to the company. I don't know. No offense against certain people in certain places, but I thought for a while there were guys like when they had Terry Taylor as head of talent relations. I thought they had a good guy in place there. Then when Bruce Pritchard came in, I thought they had a good guy in place there. And I don't know if it's because conflicting visions is the problem. I don't know if creative is the problem. I don't know if it's management that's the problem. Something is wrong there, but I don't believe it's talent related. I think talent is doing the best with what they're given. Something needs to change there, or else they run the risk of going out of business.
Yeah, it's a weird situation because I personally, and this is just me, I don't watch nearly as much wrestling as I like to. I just don't have the time to watch everything I'd like to watch. I mean, I'm behind on Ring of Honor shows, personally. I want to catch up. But the TNA, it was losing the wrestlers that I loved back, like AJ Styles, Chris Daniels, Cesaro, and Samoa Joe. That's kind of why I started watching Impact back when they were on Spike TV. And it's been a while. It was hard to even think about going back after all that. Do you think that's what affects most of the audience, just losing their favorites?
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of a perception, like they say sometimes, perception is reality. Losing what you would consider maybe your homemade stars, guys that you tried to develop there in TNA, and bringing in guys, from the WWE who, and this is not a knock on any of those guys, but guys from the WWE who were never in prominent positions on the roster, and making them, right out of the gate, making them a top guy. I think that didn't help.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There's guys that it works with, like when they brought in, for example, MVP. I thought that was a good move, and I thought that would help stir things around. But again, from a creative standpoint, I think they dropped the ball a little bit. What that could have been, maybe that one I do blame creative for, but I think there's just, I don't know. It's the problems with TNA is not going to be an easy fix. Whatever needs to be done, it's got to be drastic. I think they had an opportunity way back when to maybe reset the machine when they were thinking of bringing Paul Heyman in.
Yeah.
Way back when, and maybe that would have been the best opportunity. Sometimes it's like what's going on here in Toronto, where everything is hockey related,
Yep.
And the announcement of Mike Hickok signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and really what they need to do here in this city, trying to draw a comparison, is they got to wipe the slate clean and start fresh. Now I don't know if TNA can actually do that at this point and survive. That's my own concern.
Yeah. There's a difference between a wrestling organization that keeps getting bounced off their TV stations and the Maple Leafs, who do have the history that they have, and fans that will stick by them no matter what. I mean, I'm a diehard hockey fan. I'm a Devils fan. I'm dealing with struggles right now. And it happens. We're dealing with a new GM and everything else going on in Jersey. It's the same mentality. But it's different in sports than, I think, regular sports like that, because you have loyal fans that will stick no matter what. The WWE, they have loyal fans that will stick no matter what. I don't think TNA has enough of those anymore.
No, and that was their problem too, especially when they were on Spike, when they had an opportunity to grow their audience. And they never were able to do that. I mean, like, they always hovered around that 1.01, just under 1 rating. It never deviated from that. One time it deviated from that, and that was the experimental Monday night head-to-head against WWE.
Yeah.
Where they did, I think it was like a 1.5.
Yeah, exactly. That was a terrible experiment.
And that was a minimal spike, no pun intended, in their ratings. But still, you thought, okay, they got a good bump from that, moving to Monday night. People were curious to see what goes on head-to-head. And they couldn't expand on it. They couldn't grow on it, and that hurt a lot. And and then when you pull the plug on the Monday night, trying to recreate a Monday Night War that didn't work, people perceive you as being